Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Thursday night. It is time for another NLG show, and man, it's gonna be a great show tonight. We're going for so the first part of our video says covering games that have past, present, and future. We're doing a little bit of both, a little bit of future and present in tonight's show as we welcome in a great guest and a game that I personally am looking very forward to. From Retrosoft Studios, Mr. Mike Hermann, how are you, sir? Excellent. And the game that we are going to be talking about tonight, amongst other things that you might want to talk about, there was a little bit of, there seemed to be a little bit of football going on before we got started, but RetroMania Wrestling, and a game that I got a chance to see last year in its alpha form at the Too Many Games. Got to meet Tommy Dreamer. That was pretty cool. Got his autograph. It's up on the wall. And tonight we're going to talk all about the game, where it's going, when it's coming out, because that's still a question, right? And then whatever else, Mike, you want to talk about. You're part of the crew tonight. So, John, how you doing, brother? He's not far from me. We were just talking about that. I'm down here just north of Baltimore. So, can hear anyone but Mullis. All right, hold on. That's it's always something. Wait, everyone but me can hear everyone but me, but I'm hold on. Is that this every freaking time? Every freaking time. Oh, can't hear anyone. Oh, hold on. He can't hear anyone but me. Hold on. See, this is nuts. All right, let's do this. Right. Yeah, this is a little short of that. All right, John, say something. All right. All right, can you hear him now? Thank you, Daredevil Dave. I'm assuming it's one of your fans. Yeah? Oh, yeah? Excellent. He's saying nope. What? No, he's saying nope. He still can't. He's. All right. Hold on. I'm wondering if. All right. Hang on one second. There's always something. It's because Peter's not here. All the audio usually runs through Peter. I am, but OBS. Nice. Wow. Okay. He said, for those who can't hear him, he said, I thought you were in IT. Yeah, thanks, Born. What a way to start the show. All right, hold on. All right, so we may just have to, Peter may just have to be, I'll just put him somewhere else. Can you hear him? Can you hear? All right, guys, talk. Can anybody hear? Oh, this is just ridiculous. See, this is that OBS crap. This is the one thing that only Mike on this end. This is really bizarre. All right, let me try. Huh. Let me look at the settings. See that well, it's because Peter's not here. I'm going to. Oh, I'm blaming him. Let me do. Let's see. Yeah. Yes, I got it. Tracks. Let's see.
Uh,
All right, Chris, talk.
What's up, everybody?
I'm just gonna start punching in all kinds of stuff here, and just yes, we're blaming it. Okay, heard Chris. John, say something.
Okay, can anybody hear me now?
He said he heard someone. Mike, say something too.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, Dave.
All right, heard John.
Okay.
All right. He's. All right. Heard Mike and what up? All right, I think we're good. I think we're good. So, all right. You know what? I'm gonna also jump into this thing and just make sure. Lots of echo, but can hear them. All right, hold on. I can fix that. The echo I can fix. Jeez. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. All right. Since you brought up Office Space. All right. Oh, look, Bobby Gonzalez. He's already with the. Can you reveal a character? Look, this isn't like the. So I don't know if this is like the Amico where we got. He said, okay, there goes the sound again.
It's going to be Johnny Retro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that? All right, we're gonna deal with a little bit of echo while we do that. I'm gonna make sure that people can hear first, and then I'll deal with the echo. But that is actually so. I saw that on the website. What was the problem with Johnny Retro? Is it because he re-signed with WWE? Somebody had asked about.
Yeah, he doesn't own any of the names, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Well, now, even I'm hearing the echo now.
Yeah, I'm hearing it real bad, too.
No, you're hearing it from my phone.
Oh,
hang on.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm just making sure. All right. Chris, you say something real quick.
My Mustang clock just went off.
Your Mustang clock just went off. Okay, we're good. No echo. We're good. All right, let's get to it.
All right,
Good.
so
All
Johnny
right.
Retro.
Yeah.
So prior to him, he had just left Impact.
Right.
And before he signed with WWE is when we approached him. Basically, the story is Dreamer knows him pretty well. So Dreamer got us in touch with him. And we talked to him. He was pretty easy to deal with. And we worked out the deal. But, he told us he didn't own basically any of the names. So we could go with his real name, John Hengen. Or I thought of, why don't we call him Johnny Retro? So I will take credit for that one.
Nice.
I like the Johnny Retro.
So do I. I thought it fit really well, and
Yeah,
we're
it
gonna.
does.
And he's the star of the story mode that we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're taking a little different.
Yeah.
We're doing a little different take on our story mode, whereas we don't have creator wrestler in, and we can probably get into that later. At least not for launch, for a couple reasons, but. I thought Johnny Retro would be a great guy, great name to take through our story. So we decided to make him the star of the story mode, and we just thought Johnny Retro. And we're not going to let him own Johnny Retro either. That
I was
stays
gonna just ask you that.
Oh, yeah, Big Stevie Cool.
Yep.
So, all right. So let's start from kind of the top down, and this is where, So first off, for people that don't know, RetroMania Wrestling is now officially the sequel to a really good arcade game, which I guess you can no longer use the full name. It just now is WrestleFest.
Right.
Which
Right.
back then, of course, we could say it here. You don't have to say it. It was WWF WrestleFest, and this game looks. It looks a little different than that. It was the characters are a little, it's we're a little more into. We've got better hardware to show this stuff off with now.
Right.
So when I saw it last year, I think it was just coming out for the Switch, and I was talking to the guy and I'm like, Not all of us have a Switch.
Right.
And when's it coming to the, are we going to get this on Xbox? Are we going to get this on PlayStation? And he was like, yeah, we're working on it. And then I think it was not long after that the Xbox version was announced. And then shortly thereafter, PS version was announced. And then now you've also added PC. So everybody's getting it.
Yeah, we knew we could get on PC. It was just a matter of were we going to go with Steam, which we eventually did. We briefly looked at a couple other PC platforms, but Steam just made the most sense. It's easy to get on. And then we wanted to hit all the consoles, but surprisingly, Nintendo was quickest to approve us, which I was surprised going in because I had heard it was a little harder to get on Nintendo's platform, being an indie developer and not working with another publisher. So we had kind of those two things going against us, but they approved us pretty quick, and then the other two just kind of fell in line. So from the start we wanted to hit all four platforms.
Nice. And so take us, so where did the idea, who came up with, hey, it's time to do another wrestling game, but we don't want to be like everyone else. And the reason I say that is because as an older gamer myself, and an old former game journalist, I was around for my friends at Acclaim, as I always pour one out for, and they took their best shot with Legends of Wrestling, which wasn't as bad as people said it was. At least not to me. But
I agree. I'm in that camp. I agree.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I thought the second one was the best.
Yes, it was. And maybe if we have time before the end of the show, I have a really interesting Jake the Snake Roberts story for you. That
absolutely,
it's nuts. But people are. I think, where did the idea for this particular game and this style of game come from?
Well, originally, so we have to go back to probably 2010, 2011, around there. When I decided, you know what, I want to make WrestleFest, and I tried, how can I hack WrestleFest to get Macho Man in it, which was what I wanted to do initially. I thought he should have been in the original game, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to hack the game ROM and try to add additional characters to it. So I did some research, and my background's software engineering, but I didn't make much progress. I'm more of a object-oriented programming guy, more recent stuff, not assembly or assembler or any of the older languages, or not necessarily older, but machine code type level hexadecimal numbers that you got to dig into. I wasn't up for that. So I decided, you know what, I'll just code the engine myself in my spare time, and eventually I'll make some progress. And that didn't happen. I would work on it for 3 weeks, and then I'd do nothing for 3 months, and I'd have to start over because I didn't comment my code well enough. And so then THQ announced WrestleFest. This was in 2012 for the
remake.
iPad.
Right. The remake.
And I got excited for it. I'm like, all right, well, I don't have to do it anymore. They're going to do a great job, and I'll play that. And it came out, and I didn't really like it. I didn't like the cell shading that they did with the artwork. I really like pixel artwork. And I think it speaks that new games are still being made with pixel artwork. Mm-hmm. And I think it's aged much better than like PlayStation 1 3D games that came out around that era, and N64 3D games graphically. So let's fast forward to about 2017, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to make a go at this. I need to get some income coming back. There has to be a chance to make some money, although that's not the driving force behind this project by any means. I loved WrestleFest as a kid, and that's what started everything. And I just wanted to make a new WrestleFest and add additional features that they couldn't do at the time. So I hired a bunch of people who have a lot more experience than I do, and I'm basically project managing everything. Now, I have my hand in a little bit of the code, very, very little, but I can dive into the code if need be to point something out. I've edited some sprites. I've had my hand in a little thing, but by all 99% of the work's being done by very talented artists that have previous game experience, and two lead programmers that have experience as well and are great to work with. So,
And this is officially the first Retrosoft game?
yes.
Nice.
Hopefully the first of many.
Yeah.
But,
Hopefully. Now,
we'll see. We're still the jury's still out on that though. We got to do one right first.
we love these kind of stories though, because that's what I mean. Especially now. Let me tell you why I thought that this game kind of is coming at the right time too. And while I'm talking, I'm gonna try to fix Chris because he is Chris is frozen in time. Yeah, turn your camera off and back on.
Turn it off. Yeah.
Oh man, I thought he was just smiling for a long time. I was timing him, man. I thought, man, he's up for like 8 minutes.
I thought he was in a contest or something. I thought you guys had something behind the scenes. How long can he go without moving?
That's how we Cowboy fans are when we had to spread down our
Here
hate.
we go. Here we go. Oh man.
All right.
And talk all you want. I'm crying because Marshall Yonda just retired. So, all right. Anyway, 'cause that boy's going to the Hall of Fame. So the reason I think that this game is coming out at a really good time is I don't know what happened to WWE, but ever since 2K took it over, it's kind of gone downhill. And I think people are starting to get a little bored with that. And they're pining for, at least I am, pining for a game that kind of takes me back. And the one game series that really isn't as big as it could be, that kind of sits in this space a little bit, is Fire Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
And I used to play the ever-loving crap out of Fire Pro. And
I still play it.
Somewhere in this house is my Japanese to English translation manual to where I
have one. Yep.
where I printed it all out, put it in a nice little binder, and would create. I'd take all the wrestlers and all the ones and I'd rename them to like the real ones.
Yep.
But I mean, there isn't anything at the moment that's like that, and that's somebody like me. I'm ready for this, and I'm ready for something just a little more simplistic that I need to just pick up, play, have a good time with, and this is going to scratch that itch.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Like, so Fire Pro, even Fire Pro World, which is on PS4, I don't want to give them too much publicity, but we are both 2D games, but we are exactly what you said. We want to be that pick up and play. Our systems aren't as complex as Fire Pro's. It's more built around an arcade game. Like, this would fit in an arcade cabinet, and we actually at PAX had it displayed in an arcade cabinet. So people were playing it at PAX. We had a couple technical difficulties with it, but people were able to play the game in an arcade cabinet, and that's what type of game this is. It's actually exactly what you said. Pick up and play. You can jump in, have a few fun matches. 1 to 8 players, local co-op. So it's exactly that.
Huh? 1 to 8 players, huh?
Yeah. So we're testing it, and we're gonna leave it in. 8 players on screen at once is crowded. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we're playing, we have our Retro Rumble, copyright pending, because we can't call it.
Right.
There's nothing royal about it, but we're allowing you to play up to 8 wrestlers in the ring, and it's a little hectic. I like it, but it's all user definable. So you have options before you start the match to limit the number of on-screen wrestlers that you want. Now, there's no slowdown or anything like that. So that's not a matter. It's not an issue of the game slowing down at all. It's just when you have 8 characters in that ring at once, it can get a little crazy. Some people might not like it. Some people will love it. So.
Oh, I think that's that kind of melee could be good. Now, we're only talking about, at the moment, though, local multiplayer, correct?
Correct. We have started the online portion of it, but it just was taking a lot longer than I wanted. So I decided let's put all of our resources in just nailing down the gameplay. We have back to it once we launch.
Okay.
I didn't want that to get in the way of of the game itself.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And so with 8 players, so I'd ask this too. It looks like you're pretty set for current platform releases. But did anybody from Intellivision approach you guys about the game?
No, but I heard a interview with I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Tommy
Tallarico.
Tallarico. Thank you. And it sounds like I would love to develop on that platform. I'll be honest with you. So the interview he was on Review Tech.
You didn't watch ours? Oh,
I didn't know he was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had him on. We had him on in January.
I know what I'm doing after this. Then I'm going to listen to it. But one of the things that stuck out to me was, they're making their decisions based on, is it fun? We're throwing out what we know, and is it fun to play? So I think, if I do a game for Intellivision, I want it to be from the ground up, based around, because it looks like they have a very unique controller that they're trying to think outside of the box and do something different, and I would love to do a wrestling game for Intellivision, so I got to get this one done first, but there could be a version of RetroMania on the Intellivision if they'll have us,
I'll put the word in. I'll put the word in with Tommy for you.
No, that'd be awesome.
We'll tell him John, Chris, and I said you got to talk to Mike Hermann.
That's right. Now, Michael, on this game, are you going to have like ring entrance music for the different wrestlers? And I wanted to know if you're going to have that. And also, I did hear that there's going to be some crowd chants that react to what's going on in the match at the time.
Yep. So yes to both. Awesome. We have a gentleman by the name of Rhythm Bastard. Is his handle online.
Right.
Has put together entrance music for all the wrestlers. We may add some additional music as well to the game. We're actually working on clearing some samples from the original WrestleFest, and we actually remixed the intro.
Nice.
So, and it's by a gentleman by the name of Megaran. But if you haven't heard of him, I definitely look him up. If you were into, and I know we're all roughly the same age, so if you were into that late '80s, early '90s rap and hip hop, okay, he puts a lot of basically retro gaming references from that era into his music, and not only the references, it's just video game and pop culture references throughout the lyrics on a lot of his tracks, but also he samples video game music, and it's awesome. So, and he likes to say, video game music is music. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
So we have him involved now. That's like recent as of this week. So we're working on something with him as well. As far as the crowd chants, what we're working on, we have some that we've tested out that I'm not thrilled with. It's tough to not technically is the wrong term, but programmatically, I guess, if you want to say that, create crowd chants without having a crowd to record. So we're going to be at we were supposed to go this past weekend to a independent wrestling show, and I'm hoping for us to actually record there and try to get the crowd involved and get them to do some of the chants that we need for the game. So I think that'll sound a lot better in the game. But we've already have some stuff in the game now that reacts to the crowd, or the crowd reacts, to the match and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And so we have somebody in the chat, Bobby Gonzalez, who, to kind of dovetail off of John's question, any chance of having character voice?
So
I know it's hard for a couple of them.
Yeah, well, one, definitely, but probably not. We are going to have commentary though. So
yes, I saw that.
Ian Riccaboni from Ring of Honor and Colt Cabana from now, I guess, AEW / I think he's still doing some stuff with NWA as well.
Did Colt go to AEW?
He's working. He's involved there. He was on one of the Dark shows, and I think I don't know what his status is, but I know he's doing something with them as well. but they're going to be offering commentary, kind of like in an NBA Jam style, boom shakalaka, one-liner type stuff.
Yes.
So they've recorded some stuff already that we got to get in the game, and then we'll go back to them and get some more stuff recorded. But they've been great to work with as well.
And it's great to have that kind of thing. Now, the couple other things that I saw. So, obviously, one of the really great announcements you guys made was the inclusion of NWA.
Yep.
I mean, that's it's great to get named wrestlers, and having a Road Warriors in there, and the BWO. I know I know there's certain parts that you can't get, but having the BWO in there is really really good. But having NWA be able to showcase that, I think is great, because that, once again, that brings us back. I know they're still around, but that brings us back to such an era of wrestling too, that I'm hoping that this game captures, is that that 80s era where there wasn't where it was a little more wrestling, a little more little less whatever they're doing now, to be honest with you, in WWE.
Yeah, and NWA, just what they're doing now, bringing that back, I think we were a good match for each other. They have kind of that retro look to what they're doing in their studio show, and as soon as we had before we announced it, we had the deal set before they even started doing NWA Power on YouTube. We had the deal set, we just hadn't announced it. So they had the first show, and I got on the phone with my environmental artist, and I'm like, you need to watch this link, and you need to recreate their set in our game. And then a week later, I was playing in the NWA Power Arena.
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah, it's definitely very cool to have them in. And I think it adds credibility to what we're doing as well. We Matt Mania kind of game. And I felt like if we're WrestleFest, the sequel, I want real wrestlers, right? And the first guys we went after were the Road Warriors, because they were you couldn't play as them in WrestleFest, which really annoyed me. So I was like, and I know you can do it in main, but you can't really do the Doomsday Device because then the whole game freezes.
Right.
So that was one of the guys I wanted to go after right away.
Now, Michael, your game, are there going to be? I guess there's like 12 to 16 players that you're kind of targeting for launch, with maybe additional wrestlers, maybe afterward. Am I right, or is that kind of what you're aiming for?
Yeah, I think in that range, it'll be over 12. I can guarantee that. But yeah, we want to add more after the fact. It'll go as long as we have a community that wants more content, and we want to keep adding to it as long as we can. We're not going to come out with a RetroMania every year. We're not going to see RetroMania 2K21 or
right.
Okay, but we want to add content to it after this, and we're going to do a combination of free and paid. Like I said, I think I said this before we were on the air. This is really a passion project. I might have said it when I was going through it, but money's not the ultimate driver. Obviously, I wanted to make money, but I want to reinvest back into the game too. So
right.
to the extent I can do that, we're going to come in under $30 as a price point, and I want to make sure people get their money's worth. So as much as we can pour in and not charge people, we will. But some of the license of the guys we may want to get, they're going to want money, rightfully so. So
Sure.
We may have to charge some stuff for DLC. I would say right now probably for new wrestlers, but for new environments, new game modes and stuff like that, it would be a free DLC.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Well, I could understand that. I mean, somebody, one of our regular friends, Born Distracted, said, "Hey, somebody like Gold Dust." And I'm thinking, first off, does Dustin Rhodes own his name? And because I think he does, because I think when he's shown up in Impact as Gold Dust before.
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, but I don't even think you can say Cody Rhodes. I think he can only be called Cody, and he was working on it with them to get his name back.
Really?
I don't quote me on that one, but because in ROH he was only called Cody.
Well, in Impact, he was what was he? He was something that I forgot what he called himself in Impact. I haven't watched as much AEW as I wanted to. I'm gonna find out because I thought he came in as Cody Rhodes because his wife is using the name. Because I think I think they were calling her Brandy Rhodes.
Can you just spell it differently?
He could, yeah. So I'm looking at a picture and it just says the American Nightmare Cody. So maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody owned a last name, but so. Oh,
yeah,
aha. So Dave is saying they own Cody Rhodes because Rhodes isn't his real last name. Dustin, he believes, can use Rhodes. I know for a fact that when Dustin Rhodes went to Impact, he went in as Dustin Rhodes. I do know that. I remember that. That was back when I actually enjoyed Impact.
Was it ROADS?
No, no, it wasn't. I just can't remember. Gold Chain Gamer. So what's up, brother? I invited him. He's going to DM me if he can get into this podcast. So him and I, Gold Chain Gamers has a podcast too, and I might hook you up with him to talk this game as well. He and I met at Too Many Games, and he and I both got our first look at this game together.
Oh, awesome!
So
okay.
It was kind of a cool moment with myself and Jeff there. He's a great guy. We loved just the little bit we got to play of this game. So that and my son got to play it, and he's 15 years old. He was kind of digging it too. So
yeah, I mean, I have my test group is a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old at home.
Nice.
I have 3 boys, and so they're beta testers as well. But they enjoy playing it for sure.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
If you can't win them over,
I don't know, man. So at least they better be faking it.
Right. So here's some of the NWA themed gameplay, and even to get guys like Nick Aldis, who he's an interesting character. I used to watch him again when I liked Impact, and I watched him as Magnus, and then he to get him, I mean, that's not a small name. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Road Warriors are big names, but Nick's not a small name either.
Yeah.
So,
NWA champion.
Yeah.
The real world champion.
Well, yes. Well, he's and not just that. I mean, he was. He was Impact champion. I think it was he ROH too?
I'm not sure.
Hold on, I'm looking on the site. See,
I really like the animated backgrounds. Look, the cameras stand on the wrestlers, even outside the ring. The action, awesome.
Yeah, we have a couple other cool ones. Like Stevie Richards Fitness has a ton of stuff going on in the background with a bunch of people exercising and things like that. And we have at least 3 or 4 backgrounds that we haven't shown yet. And one is out there too. You guys are gonna love it. I don't know if I haven't decided if we'll show it before we launch because it doesn't necessarily fit in wrestling themes, but it looks really cool. So.
Right.
I don't want to give too much away, but the guy doing our backgrounds does an amazing job. I mean, you can just see from the NWA set here.
Look at the
little
camera guys follow it. And
Yep.
See, that it's little things like that. Oh, my God. So.
Now,
so you guys played before we had tag team mode in, too. So.
Nice. See, and I was just going to ask about that.
Yep.
About tag team. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do regular tag, 6-man tag, and 8-man tag matches.
Nice. Bodies flopping all around.
Oh yeah. So
are we gonna get tables?
Even at some point, yes. I don't know if we'll get them done for launch. So one of the things is as you know in IT, scope creep, right? So I have a list like pages and pages long of stuff I want to do. If we did everything on my list, the game would never be released and I'd be out of money. So, so everything, like if you've seen it in wrestling, you can bet it's on my list. You know, I want to do a casket match. Somebody else brought that up on another
Right.
podcast I had done, and I'm like, that's a great idea. We need to do that. I added that to the list, you know. I was on a podcast earlier this week, and somebody said Viagra on the pole match, and I think that was done in WCW
Don't do that.
years ago. I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. I got to talk to Viagra and see if I can use their name.
Yeah.
But then I
Right.
think our ESRB rating would probably go up to
Yeah.
mature and.
Right.
But anything that we've seen, on our 48 years on the planet, 47, 46, 44, our years on the planet, I want to say, that'd be cool if it's fun to play, and if we can do it in our game where it's fun, I'm more than willing to add it.
Well, Mike, if you get the Viagra thing, things are going to be on the up and up.
Oh Lord. This is Mike. Have you met John?
Yeah. Well, on a lot of the wrestling podcasts, they got an advertisement for the chewable version of that. If you've heard, so you hear that all over the place. Maybe they'll sponsor us.
Bourne had a good question. So Bobby Gonzalez said, and I think I know this answer too. Why aren't there more NWA characters then? And I'm assuming it's licensing.
Yeah, I mean, so the NWA doesn't necessarily own the rights to all of the guys that they have under contract.
Really?
Yeah. So, well, for example, look at like Colt Cabana, for example. We dealt with him directly.
Okay.
He's been wrestling this Colt Cabana in Ring of Honor and all over the Indies. I don't know what Impact's rule is, but I don't know if they have many names that they own. Like Tommy Dreamer wrestles for Impact. They don't own Tommy Dreamer.
No,
Tommy.
I don't think they own. They don't own much of anything at this point.
So
they can't even keep wrestlers. So I mean,
yeah. So
go ahead.
No, but yeah, NWA is the same way. So even when we signed Nick, we had to deal with Nick. We didn't deal with the NWA. We dealt with Nick directly.
And then I guess maybe they're just glad to have people wrestling for their promotion for the good of the promotion. I mean,
right.
And I think Impact's kind of the same way. I'd be willing to bet that you could probably. Well, there you go. Is there any secrets that we could? Nothing we can.
Not yet. I don't want to ruin the surprises.
Right.
Come on, Tallarico gave us an exclusive. You can give us something.
Well, I'll say this. I'll give a hint. I'm not gonna. You can name all the names you want. I'm not gonna say yes or no.
I'm not gonna do that.
But one of the guys that we haven't announced yet is an NWA legend. I'll leave it at that.
Nice.
So
Sting. Sorry, you had my attention. Hey, Starbuck United, what's up, man? Dante Sanchez Jungo, we got a bunch of. Oh, what other weapons will the game have? So Dante, we talked to. You could see chairs. I asked him about ladder or tables. Yeah, you got to get like a TLC match.
Right. No, I hear you. Well, I think Dreamer, has in his contract we have to have a kendo stick in the game.
There you go. There you go.
So, I don't know if we can get away with just him walking to the ring with it. I don't know, but no, we want to add more weapons, definitely. So again, it's on the list. We're really like hyper focused on the gameplay as far as like the core wrestling and making sure it's one-on-one tag teams. We have a 3-way match, a 4-way match, and a rumble, and we have right now we're working on interactions with the cage matches, and we want to make sure all that stuff works, and then weapons are after that. Okay. So depending on how much time we have left, our target launch is July. But we'll push. Like, I don't have a problem pushing the launch date if the game's not ready. And that's not to say I want to hit July. And we've kind of been marketing a while now. So we've been marketing since February. It's been a slow build. But I think it would be great. July would be a great month to launch in. But with that said, I'm not going to force our potential customer base to be beta testers.
Right.
So I want to make sure the game's done. I feel like a delay will hurt our reputation a little bit, but crappy game will kill it. So
Yeah.
I'd rather delay, and then I think we can recover a lot easier from a little bit of a delay than we can recover from the game sucks. I'm never going to play this again. People get pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
What was that? What was that? That Miyamoto quote, Chris, about delayed games. Do you remember what it was? I'm gonna look it up because you're absolutely right. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think you would. I don't know that you would suffer that much because people understand.
Wow. Most people understand.
Well, but the people that don't understand are not your target audience. Let's be honest.
That's
true. The people that are waiting for this game, like Jeff in the chat, he says, take the time if you need it.
Right.
This is, again, look at what happened to, with all due respect to 2K, look what happened to the WWE games. They put one out every year. It's kind of gone downhill. It's kind of, there are some serious gameplay issues with them coming up, and now, here it is. A delayed game is eventually good. A bad game is bad forever. So don't.
Right. That's a great quote. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's, if you say, we gotta bump this to August. We gotta bump it to September. I don't think people are going to be that upset.
Right. Well, the one thing I have going for me is it's my decision, and that's what I like about it.
Good.
We don't have a publisher. Everything kind of. I'll get credit for the success, and I'll get blamed for any failures. So I can live with that.
Right.
So yeah, we want to. We're taking our time, but we're working hard. We're not screwing around. But we have, I have guys from. I'm dealing with people all time zones. So we have 5 continents represented in working on this game. I think we don't have anybody from Africa, and we don't have anybody from Antarctica. Every other continent is covered.
You need those penguins working on the game. So all right. So what we haven't talked about yet are some of the gameplay aspects. I mean,
yep.
There's things, and I saw some things on the site, of course. Some questions from the facts, so maybe run through those real quick. So, in addition to the NWA arenas and stuff, there is an NWA heavyweight belt.
Yep, 10 pounds of gold.
10 pounds.
Sweet
of
Charlotte.
Gold. Yep. And then the NWA tag team titles, the House of Hardcore Television Championship, and you said more to be announced.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so NWA, after we had that list, I think they've launched the national title and their television title. It's not a ton of work or effort to put in additional belts. The one thing is, though, we got to grow our roster, so not everyone on the roster has a belt. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So we want to increase that roster, and we'll definitely release more belts. And we want to, we want the game's going to keep track of who the champion is. Throughout, so even if you're playing exhibition, if you put yourself up against a champ, we'll have it. Is it a title match or a non-title match?
Nice.
So, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. They'll wear the belts to the ring if they're the champion. We want to keep title histories and all that stuff as well.
Very nice, very nice. And they'll wear the belts to the ring.
Yes.
Around their waist. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. As much as I even love Hulk Hogan, there was that time when he wore it around his waist, and then there was the time when he kind of
put it over his shoulder.
Yeah, and that's where everybody else started doing it and dragged it on the ground, and you just totally disrespected it. And I'm glad you said that, because that's what you want. And in the intros, are we gonna have full into the ring and maybe in-ring intros as well? Like they come in, they get up on the rope, and they, things like that?
No, we're going with kind of the WrestleFest style of intros.
Okay.
You'll see them walk down the aisle, and then they'll climb into the ring. And the one thing I really was watching for when we went to PAX was how many times people would actually watch the intro, or if they, because we even now in in our working demo, people skip the intros. So,
yeah.
How much time, as a developer, we're like, well, how much time should we spend on elaborate intros if everybody skips them anyway? So they need to be there. I think they're a necessity. We actually have like Titantrons in some of the arenas that we can do custom stuff to, and we have ring entrance music for all the wrestlers that we've done. I just feel that's probably where we'll stop for now.
Okay.
Just because watching people play, and we had like over 300 people play the game. I'd say 50% watched it and 50% skipped it, and it was the first time playing it.
Well, one of the guys who played it is in the chat room. So the guy, again, Gold Chain Gamers. So he said, not going to lie, watched it the first time, but definitely skipped it the second time.
Right.
So he also said, from what I played at Too Many Games to the build that was at PAX, the progress is phenomenal. You have my vote.
Oh, he was at both.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like I said, yeah. So
that's right. I think I remember talking to him.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool guy.
I remember talking to somebody who was at Too Many Games and at PAX.
That's probably it's probably him.
Okay.
So he said only because I wanted to play more and not hold up the line. So yeah, he's him and I are the mega powers on YouTube. So
okay, cool.
We got a really good picture of us in front of the Retro Wrestling poster doing the Hogan and
the handshake.
Yeah, the Hogan. Yeah. So the other I also caught this, and I can't remember where I caught it. You guys made a slight call of something that was going to come in from MapMania Challenge.
Yeah, so they're going to be in the story mode. MapMania will make an appearance in the story mode, and eventually will be DLC.
Nice. I'll pay for that DLC.
So we already have that was part of the licensing deal that allowed us to call ourselves the sequel to WrestleFest. So in addition to getting the MapMania IP, we got the to market ourselves as the sequel to WrestleFest, and that was important to me just because we're kind of taking their graphic style and progressing it a little bit, and I wanted validation that, hey, we're trying to carry on the great games that Technos did. Technos doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But we want to. I loved like tag team wrestling they made. I think it was called Big Pro Wrestling, and Data East ported it to the NES.
Yeah.
And I played a ton of that on the NES. It sucked, but I loved it. You know what I mean? It wasn't a good game.
MapMania was special.
No, but MapMania was great in the arcade. Tag team wrestling on the NES wasn't that good, but
no.
The MapMania arcade game I played a ton too. I specifically remember playing it for the first time in a hotel in Virginia, Williamsburg, Virginia, when we went there. And I remember playing MapMania, just begging my parents to have a few more quarters to go play it. So I reached out, Arc System. I tracked down who owned the Technos IP. And I talked to Arc System Works, and I said, well, you guys own WrestleFest. I know you can't license us the characters, but if you guys own the name, can I use the marketing term, sequel to WrestleFest? And they're like, sure. So I think, I want to, it's more of like a kind of a love letter to Technos saying, hey, we appreciate the 2D arcade games you guys created then, and we want to. What if you would have came out with another 2D arcade game in 1993? What would it have been like? And then try to amp it up to 2020. And that's what we're doing.
So, because I remember Technos, and I had it the first time I ever played it after the arcade, because there was all of those versions. I never got the NES version of Tag Team, but I actually had a version of MapMania for the Atari computer. So, because it was at the 7800 and all that, but I remember I didn't but Taito put it out here.
Yeah,
in the
because it was the
US.
Taito Wrestling Association,
Right.
TWA.
Right. So so when you said I got the IP, do you own it now?
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
licensing.
you're just licensing it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Arc System.
Arc still
Arc
has
System Works, who makes Blaze Blue,
Yep.
Guilty
And-
Gear,
and
Uh,
Double Dragon. They
yeah, they
actually
own Double Dragon because that was part of Technos. Yeah,
Yep.
so they own everything,
Gotcha.
and they just license it. We have a timed we have a license for, I forget the time of it, but like a couple of years.
Nice. So we got to get the guy. You got to get the guy, the guy that points at the cat. The announcer at the beginning.
Oh, Corey was his name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So-
And then if you lose, he bangs his head on the desk.
Yeah.
I love that. So,
I want the referees chant that goes 1, 2, 3.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you're licensing it, won't they
Yeah,
do
we can do it. We can absolutely do it.
that would be funny. Well,
Yeah.
if they're so you have the wrestlers.
Yep.
It would be cool to have to have some of that. It would be neat to have that as kind of. It'd be crazy to have that as kind of a retro game within the game.
Right.
That would be breaking the fourth wall
Yeah.
like you wouldn't believe.
And we're trying to go after some other 80s, 90s arcade wrestling games that had, not licensed wrestlers, but their
Right.
own.
So-
We haven't made much progress in that, but we're trying.
I'm trying to think. So Sega had Wrestle War.
Yep.
But that was a little bit of a different game because that was north south rather than just kind of like Ring King was.
Right. It was a different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else it was. On the computers, there was Bop and Wrestle, but you don't want that.
But like Capcom had Saturday Night Slam Master.
Oh, yes. And Neo Geo had 3-count bout.
Yeah, 3-count bout.
Mm.
So, we think it would just be cool to include some of those wrestlers.
Yes.
Maybe get Zangief.
Right.
He's a wrestler from Street Fighter. Who knows?
Right.
That would be hilarious.
I don't think we can get that, but
No, probably not.
But I would love to just draw, from other IP franchises. I just think it would be, we could be the Smash Brothers of 2D wrestling games.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I know that thing doesn't exist,
Very cool.
but maybe it
Right.
will.
I'd have to think at this point you'd be able to call someone the Mohawk Kid by now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's definitely ways around it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's that nostalgia. That's where our game really. We're our goal is to make the game so much fun that you don't need that nostalgia bug to play it, right? Even if you never
Right.
played WrestleFest, you can pick it up and you'll have a good time. Hey, for non-wrestling fans, it's kind of like a fighting game. Cool looking moves, cool grapples, a little bit of a button masher. 8 people playing at once will be fun, or even just 2 people playing at once, or by yourself, whatever. But, just to make it a fun game first, and then make it fun, and they, hopefully they'll come play it.
All right, so now let's get to gameplay then. So talk to us about. So you said you want to keep this, kind of arcade-ish, towards the arcade style and that kind of thing. So what are we looking at for for grappling and move sets?
So it's kind of, I was telling somebody else this the other day. It's almost like WrestleFest and Fire Pro had a baby. Okay, so I like the original WrestleFest controls. It was simple, easy to do, but what I didn't like about it was there was move progression, which again I liked, but my favorite guy was Jake the Snake Roberts. I knew I would either do a body slam or a snapmare for a certain amount of time, and then it would make me do a side suplex, and then it would make me do his finisher. I couldn't control it at all, and I didn't like that part of it. So you can control what moves you do. If you try to do your finisher right away, it'll most likely get reversed.
Okay.
There's a small
Right.
chance you could do it, but very small. and you can pick which grapple move. So you also have a lot more moves at your disposal. So grappling is an auto grapple, just like pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was, tag team wrestling was, Mat Mania was, WWF Superstars and WrestleFest. It was all that. Once you get close to each other, you'll lock up. So we have that mechanism. Then can be a timing factor to it, but it's not super precise on purpose, like a Fire Pro, because I think one of the knocks, and don't get me wrong, I love Fire Pro, but we're not just trying to make another Fire Pro. We're trying to do something different, and it's like you have to be so precise to be good at that game. And we wanted more of a randomness to it, and also my son was really good at the timing and kept beating me, so I had to change it. So, but so there's a randomness to it. So, sometimes it is purely random. Now, if you're a little bit better, you have a better chance of winning. Don't get me wrong, from a grapple standpoint. But we want it to be fast paced. We want it to be not so one sided of a match. That was one of the design goals of this. So people who haven't played it before will at least have a chance against somebody that's seasoned.
Okay.
Some of the other different mechanics and gameplay, since we do look so much like WrestleFest, some of the stuff we've expanded on is like corner grapples, corner Irish whips, reversals of Irish whips, dives to the outside. Actually, we have cage matches, but you can actually do something with the cage besides Irish whip them in. So you can ram the head.
Tell me you can Adrian Adonis jump off the cage.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. That was one of my very early memories.
Yeah.
Adrian Adonis and Hulk Hogan in Baltimore at the Baltimore Arena, steel cage. Adonis goes up. He decides, I can win this match right now. But no, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to try to dive on Hogan. And of course, we all know what happens.
Yep.
Hogan rolls out of the way. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so and then our tag team mechanic, we took what WrestleFest did, because I actually like you have to have the guy in the headlock, and then you can go to your corner and make the tag. But we have a lot more tag moves than just the elbow to the back off the top rope.
Cool.
So,
because that's lacking too in some games too, is a lack of really good tag moves anymore.
Yeah. But even like the basic ones, like the one I was testing the other night, is just like a double back elbow. I get the guy, I throw him into the ropes, and me and my partner both hit him with a double elbow. Stuff like that. Or I throw the opponent into the ropes, and I do a leapfrog over him, and then my opponent or my partner can do any of his moves against the guy. Just little stuff like that you would see done a lot on TV. I want to kind of recreate that in this game. That's
cool. That's what that makes that. Yeah, see, that gives some realism too.
Right.
So,
right.
Now, we saw superplexes off the corner, so we saw that. Somebody did ask. So your man Dave Dahl just wants to be in this game. It's just he
hardest working man and on the Indies.
I see that. He wants to be in the game. So you have to sign into a contract. J Street asked if there's blood in the game.
So we're going back and forth on that. I am trying to get an answer on rating and how that affects rating, and then weighing the benefits, of trying to, that's more of a business decision, honestly, than any kind of programming thing. I think if we add blood, we may go from E to teen, but I don't even know if that's true. I think we may already be teen just because it's a fighting game.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand that. And I'm trying to, can I get around it with like a blood code a la Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis? Right.
I gotta say, if it's on Sega, there's blood.
Yeah.
If it's on Nintendo, there's no blood.
So I don't know how that affects. I just want to make, my tendencies to say is yes, there will be, but I just want to make sure I make an informed decision before I make it. So I'm kind of on the fence on it right now. I think blood would be cool. I really do. especially now I'm testing the cage match. And I would love that to trigger something like that, where you smash them into the cage and then all of a sudden they're bleeding. I think that would be pretty cool. So it's part of pro wrestling, so I want to lean on the side of it probably is going to be in there. I just want to, go through due diligence and make sure everything's covered.
Right.
That makes sense. Let's see. Well, WWE 2K20 has blood in it. It's rated teen. So.
Well, what's Smash Brothers rated? Is that E?
Smash
or is that
Brothers? Super Smash Brothers?
Yeah.
Is there?
I've got it right here. I can't remember.
Yeah, John.
I don't recall.
I'm
blood
pretty sure
being
it's
on that.
rated E. Does that have blood in it though?
No, but it's a fighting game. That's what I wasn't sure.
No, John. John will let us. John's our.
I'm back. Yeah, I'll find out here.
It's probably
It's rated E.
Oh, there you go. So I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Although it was weird because I looked at Fire Pro was rated teen, and it said on there. I looked on the ESRB website, and it was due to cartoon violence and partial nudity, which I found odd.
Okay.
That's what on the ESRB website said.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, every Nintendo Switch game I've got the hard copy versions E, except for Octopath Traveler, and that was rated teen. But all the hard copy ones I've got are all E rated.
I think it might be good.
Yeah, so I think the blood is the one that would push it over. But we'll see. Like I said, to be determined.
Man.
Well, there will be blood according to Daredevil if he's in it. So
Yeah. Jago.
We could have the ultra hardcore version.
Jago said, "Stop calling Smash Brothers a fighting game. It's not."
I apologize. I'm not here to start a beef.
Oh, what's up, Jago? So Bobby Gonzalez is also Dave Dahl's press agent and manager. So he's just been put Dave in. So, so the story mode then. So the story mode is going to be Johnny Retro.
Yep.
And so, is it like the origin story kind of thing, or is it just kind of like a regular ladder kind of?
No, so it's more than that. So the ladder mode is 10 pounds of gold.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a 10 pounds of gold mode where you got to get and defeat Nick Aldis for the NWA Championship. That's our just typical fighting game ladder mode where you go through the roster or a portion of the roster and win the belt.
Gotcha.
Story mode is a multiple branch, but not crazy. It's by no means Skyrim. Okay.
You can't do dragon moves in the.
But I'm just talking about as far as multiple arcs and stuff like that. There's definitely decisions you'll have to make in the story mode that will change the outcome of the story. So there are multiple ways to finish the story. But you're a gentleman out of the University of St. Paul who is a writer and teaches video game writing at the university, actually, wrote the story for us. So he wrote the story. He takes you play the story from the eyes of Johnny Retro. And it's a completely made-up story that we created of John coming off of injury and going back. And the only part I'll give away is he goes to Stevie Richards Fitness to get back into shape. And then it goes from there. So, yeah, it's a fun story. I really like the way it came out. The first part of it's kind of a little tutorial to teach you how to play the game. Not that our game's super complicated to play, but it'll take you through how to play the game, and then you just kind of go through the story, and you have to make decisions, and it'll, heel versus babyface decisions, and that'll dictate which arc then. And it'll change. There's a few special guests in the story mode. I'm not going to give them away because I want it to be a surprise when you play through it. That you'll see that's throughout the wrestling industry that may pop up in there.
Nice.
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 So it's not super long. We haven't timed it yet, but there's double. There's a decent number of matches that you have to complete to go in there. All the match types you have to play in the game to go through the story mode. So it kind of gives you, it's a good way to play through and see everything that's in there. And then obviously we have versus mode as well, where you can just jump in. If you're not into story mode, you can jump into versus, set up any kind of match that you want, and just jump right into the action.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm really I think the story mode's fun. It's dialogue based, and it's like a choose your own adventure kind of book. So you break up the dialogue with the matches, So we try not to put too much dialogue in a row before you have another match. But the dialogue does progress the story. So we're not writing a novel, or it's not like
but
maybe
you said there is a little branching in it? Yeah,
there is branching in it though. So
cool.
Absolutely, your decisions will change the outcome of it.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you. Dave Dahl is now following me on Twitter.
Dave's awesome.
He is. I'm loving it, man. I hope he'll come back for some of our other shows. I mean, we do actually from time to time talk about the PlayStation and Xbox and Switch and Amico and stuff. So
Totally change that. But the concept behind that is
that light, medium, heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Awesome.
So, it's funny because the first day of PAX, we had it. Your health start all the way up, and your momentum, that's the purple bars, the momentum meter, start all the way down. And I was like, you know what, it was too hard for me to go through. Not hard, but with so many people there, I had to explain, all right, you can do better moves as you move your way up in the branch, So the second day, I went into the build and I changed the value and I just pumped it all the way up to 100. And then I created a new build of the game, just so people could do all the cool moves that I thought they would remember, because they're only playing it for like 5 minutes. So I wanted to be able to do the cool stuff. Like we had Johnny Retro's Moonlight Drive in there, which is a really cool looking move, and a bunch of other ones that were some of the heavier grapple moves. So we wanted to display them as well. But in the game, you're by default you'll progress your momentum bar as you do successful moves. So once you build that up is when you'll be able to do your finisher. But there will actually be an option if you want to set the level of your momentum meter for the match. We'll let you do that as well.
Nice. All right.
So yeah, and those graphics are not the final. We're still working on the final momentum meter graphics.
Gotcha.
So this, I think that it's still actually the same as it is right now in the video that's shown here. But
and I'm assuming you don't have 9,999 seconds to get back in the ring.
You do not. That is our options are no count out. I think 10-second and 20-second count outs right now.
Cool. Now, so here now what we don't see now, we saw pictures of referees. Well,
yes.
So I'm assuming the refs will be in the ring.
It's funny. That is one of the most common questions. I think we got to do that sooner rather than later. But yeah, there's going to be a ref in the ring doing the counts.
Okay. All right, cool. Because that would be awesome if he came up to the side of the ropes while they're fighting outside, and he's like you see.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You see in the real. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely going to have in-game refs.
That is cool. I like that. Because I don't remember WrestleFest having that.
No, it did. It had a
ref.
It?
I have to go back and look. It's been such a long time since I played it. I
think we would get a lot of hate mail if we didn't have a ref in the game.
Yeah. Well, I only asked because we don't see it here. And
right. No, understood. Yeah. It wasn't like, it doesn't affect the gameplay too much. So it's kind of something we'll add once we have the gameplay finalized.
Okay. Well, because if you
but I do want to do things like I have a lot of ideas of how I want to incorporate the ref eventually. I'm not sure how many we'll get at launch, but like I envision stuff like, you throw if you're a heel tag team and you throw your opponent into your corner, and if you walk to the other corner, I want the referee to turn his back and your partner to be able to choke the guy with the rope. Stuff like that I want to add to the game. So I have a lot of ideas to incorporate the ref more.
Yeah.
At a minimum, he'll be in the ring. He'll make the counts. He'll do the rope breaks. He'll do the count to the outside of the ring. All the
Nice.
basic stuff. But I have a lot of other ideas I really want to add.
Yeah, we need to be able to knock him out.
Right. No, agreed.
So, you know what else we need too, and I'm sure you get this a lot. We need valets and managers. I know that's a lost art now,
right?
But we need the ability for the manager to pull the ref out of the ring.
That would be cool. I agree with you. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Now I have a question though. Who would, if you had 6 guys sitting on the couch playing a tag team match, would someone want to be the manager?
Yeah.
I guess if we give them enough to do, they will, right?
Yes, because think about the stuff you could do as a manager. You can distract the wrestler. The wrestler you could make especially if you got like a CPU wrestler and you taunt him enough that the wrestler comes outside and chases you around the ring. You know how that used to work. You used to chase
and you
him
turn
around
the corner and you hit him.
And boom, there was the other guy. I mean, there are some things you could do with a manager. I mean, no one's ever tried it. I can consult for you.
Okay. No, I mean, I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. I really do.
Oh.
I would love to have Slick come out to Jive Soul Brother.
Oh my goodness! Yes, yes. Oh my goodness! Especially since you could have, you go talk to Jimmy Hart. It would be unbelievable to have like a Jimmy Hart type manager come out, or,
Right.
Rest in peace Bobby Heenan, or man, if you want to really go back, get classy Freddie Blassie. I mean, there's.
Right. Mr. Fuji?
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Fuji.
Be able to use this cane? That'd be pretty cool.
Yes. There was somebody that asked earlier in the chat room about, I know you said you're going to bring out some more game modes later. Lumberjack. Nobody does a Lumberjack match. Nobody.
Yeah, I know why. I got in a heated argument with my lead programmer about that. He's like, that'll be such a pain to do. I go, well, we got to figure out a way to do it.
Yes.
So I think the issue is, one, will it be fun to play that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we got to think of some gameplay mechanics around that you'd want to play that match.
Right.
Well, but if you're
if you can't move around, you're basically going to be limited to doing grapple moves,
right,
and using the rope to choke them. Outside of that, would that hold up and be fun for a long period of time?
I don't know. It depends on whether or not whether or not it's just the CPU that's the Lumberjacks, or whether or not you can take over one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the wrong match.
Oh, what do you think of?
I was thinking of like a dog collar match or a Indian strap match.
Oh my goodness!
Where they're tied together.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking of when you said lumberjack. A lumberjack match I could see working.
Yeah,
I could definitely see working.
Oh my goodness! So now you got me thinking of a strap match.
Right.
Those are the ones where, if I remember them correctly, you had to go and touch all 4 corners of the ring. So it kind of somewhat also became like a tug of war, except you just had to beat your opponent down and get him across.
And then drag him over there.
That could work.
Yeah.
That could work.
No, but it's definitely stuff like that we definitely will explore. Like I would love, because like I said, we want this game to have some longevity. So that's like the creative, it would be great to come out with a new match type to give the game some more legs, and add a strap match, add a lumberjack match,
right?
Add a Night of the Skywalkers match, and have them up on scaffolds.
Oh, a scaffold match.
Scaffold match. Oh.
So yeah, I mean, people are gonna pine for ladder matches. I mean, that's a staple. The table. There are certain people. There are only certain wrestlers that really make the tables. What they are. We know who they are. I know. Whether or not you could use them or not. Because I know that. I know WWE owns part of the naming for the 2 guys I'm thinking of. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Dudley's.
Yeah. Because they own. I'm trying to think what I think they own do they own a Dudley Dame?
No, I think they own Team 3D. Would be my guess. I mean, it's Bully Ray now, not Bubba Ray.
Right, but that was his own choice.
Well, I think it was made for him too, though. I mean,
Devon kept his name.
yeah.
I think they were Team 3D. I thought they were Team 3D and Impact and the Dudley Boys in WWE.
You're right.
Yeah, I gotta look that up now because it was.
No, I mean, you're definitely right.
Yeah.
I think WWE owns the name Dudley's.
Right. Gotcha.
So I've heard on some podcasts, Bully Ray tell that story.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
So if it was in a podcast, it has to be true.
That's right. He could just come back as his real name, and no one would know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to pay Bubba Ray Dudley or Mark LaMonaco?
Is that what his real name?
That's what his real name is.
Okay.
He came to a Baltimore wrestling thing once, and I met him for like a brief minute, and I forgot who he was talking to.
And you said, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?"
Yeah, he literally said that. I'm like, Mark, and he's like, "Yeah, my name is Mark," and then like he gave me that. My name is Mark, and went back to talking to the guy he was talking to. So, you know, those guys at the tables. Ladder, we need.
No, I agree. Too technical, but I read before we even started development on this. I read a couple really good articles on developing indie games, and the development design we took was a or inverse pyramid approach, right? So if you take a pyramid and you turn it upside down,
Right.
so it's the smallest part is now at the bottom, and you build as much as you can to get to a level where you could release your game, right? And then you add more features on top of that to a level where you can release your game. So each level you want to get to a point where if you run out of money, if you run out of time, you have a solid game that you can release.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the approach we're taking, where if we want some longevity, we gotta nail the core wrestling gameplay. And that's what we're really trying to do. Is if we can nail that, people will get on board saying, you know what, this wrestling's game great. It would make it even better if we add a ladder match into it, and then we can do that. We get people playing the game, and this isn't to say we won't get that in by launch. I'm not super optimistic because I feel like we have so much polish to do on the stuff we already have in the game.
Sure. And
but,
let's be honest, it is the end of March, and July is not that far away.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff. I'd love to come out with like a hardcore expansion. And then that's when we'll give us a little bit more time to, maybe sign a couple hardcore legends and add, tables and more chairs, even though chairs are already in, and more weapons and maybe barbed wire, rings, and
tax.
Yeah, and all that stuff.
So yeah, you got to find out what's going on with Mick Foley. Get him in there.
Yeah, we checked.
I bet you did.
That's been the challenging thing is finding out guys who are actually available. Right. And then if they are available, can we get a hold of them? And then if we can get a hold of them, are they in our price range?
Gotcha.
So,
I mean, there are some cool guys that you'd love to see in a game like this that, if they were available, I could. Some of those guys that were in some of these smaller promotions, I don't think necessarily, don't get me wrong. Again, you get Tommy Dreamer and the Road Warriors, and to an extent Colt Cabana. I think he's a tier name everybody knows. But getting an Eric Young or a Matt Morgan, just these younger guys who are Impact guys that kind of got forgotten, but they were really good. Who knows why they got forgotten? Daredevil says Raven. I'd love to see Raven or Shane.
Yeah, that's one of the top requests.
Yes, Shane Douglas. I'd love to see a Shane Douglas.
And I'll tell you, it's funny. I met we brought up Legends of Wrestling. One of the guys working with me on this worked on that
Oh,
as a producer. Like he's not a developer, but
really?
he was involved
Really?
he worked for Acclaim. He left Acclaim and worked for WWE. He helped get their Legends program started. He was involved in the video games there. He worked there for I think 13 years. He was at WWE.
But he was a producer on Legends of Wrestling.
Yeah, among other games. He's worked on like 60 different titles.
Because I may have met him at some point, and just kind of in, not like like in. So I have a
Michael Archer out of New York.
Who is he?
Michael Archer.
Michael Archer. I probably did because I visited Acclaim during their Legends of Wrestling development, and got to see the motion cap. I have a very Acclaim was a development studio that I went up because in Maryland it was really easy to go up to New York. So a few of us that worked on Next Level Gaming, the website back in the day, we would take a ride up every 4 to 6 months and go visit our buddies at Acclaim. We loved their All-Star Baseball series and some of the stuff that they did, and so we got to see some of the stuff they were doing on Legends of Wrestling. So I get J Street says he's got to go, but he says great show. Michael can't wait for the game day one purchase.
Awesome, love to hear it. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, these are we consider these guys our friends. I mean, we've got such a great chat room. These guys are so awesome. So we met a lot of the crew that was working on Legends of Wrestling, and so here's my story because I know we're getting on 11 o'clock and we don't want to want to make sure we're not infringing too much on your time, but as part of the promotion for Legends of Wrestling, my rep at the time was like, hey, we got some wrestlers that are doing some interviews, and do you want to do a wrestler interview? I'm like, well, yeah, because I was I'm big 80s 90s wrestling guy. Like I was WWF, and then I was very heavy WCW. I was during all the Monday night ratings stuff, and I've kind of fallen off. But at the time, he was like, all right, so you want to talk to Jake Roberts? And I said, what? So you met, and you just triggered this when you said his name earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how he is now, right?
Yep.
So he cleaned up, he got together with DDP and got himself healthy, and he goes out and does these actual comedy shows now, and him and DDP got Scott Hall straightened up. Well, I got the number to his hotel room. He was doing something in Europe, and it was like my rep said, "Great, you guys will talk. He'll promote the game. You can ask him whatever you want. He's cool. You can talk about his wrestling life, whatever." And I was so pumped up. I was like mesmerized. I'm a younger guy at that time too, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to talk to Jake the Snake Roberts. Called my friend who we used to go to wrestling all the time with. I'm like, dude, I'm about to talk to Jake the Snake Roberts, and he's like, you suck, man. And so I get on the phone, and first off, I knew something was wrong when I had to call him collect. So I knew something was wrong. I got him on.
You called him collect, or he called you collect?
No, I had to call him collect.
Okay.
This was where I at first thought, this isn't, okay. But I'm like, you know what? It's Jake Snake Roberts. I'll pay for it.
Right.
I never had my fandom and my childhood shattered as much as I did when I talked to him. And it was one of the most insanely strange conversations I've ever had. He was totally totally messed up that night.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just remember we never talked about the game. I'm not even sure he remembered he was in the game at that time. And he was, I mean, he was just rambling and talking about drugs and all the stuff that he did. Like, he never even talked about real wrestling either. He talked about just being messed up. And I remember getting off the phone, and I called my friend back, and he said, "My God, how was it? How was it? How was it?" I'm like, there are times when you don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when you just want wrestling to be what wrestling is. And I called my rep back, and I told him the conversation I had, and he was like devastated. He's like, "Mike, I am so sorry. I can get you anybody else you want." He said, "Dude, if I have to pull strings, I'll get you Hogan." I'm like, "Nah, it's okay. I need just I'm going to play the game, and I'm just going to pretend the game is exactly what I remember from wrestling." It was that strange.
Yeah, it stinks.
And the crazy part is that, you know, when you grow up in wrestling, watching wrestling, you watch these persona. You know, like Jake Snake Roberts was one of my favorites. And, you know, it's hard now because social media, and they're all over the place, and they're out in public, and, you know, it's like I after that I was so devastated that I even if I saw them in a restaurant, like we'd go to a show in Baltimore, and we'd be like WCW Nitro, and you know, we'd go out to diner afterwards to eat, and like, you know, Lex Luger and Conan or you know, and one other guy are at the table, and I would look over at them, and my wife would go, "Do you want to go say hi or get their autograph or something?" I'm like, "No. No,
Yeah, you don't want to ruin it.
I don't want to. I remember that interview. I was like, I want to know Lex Luger as I see him in a ring."
Right.
And that's
Well, you know, oh, sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead, John.
No, when we were talking about Jake the Snake. If you haven't seen it, he was on a podcast with Joe Rogan, and it was excellent. And Jake the Snake, he went over like 20 things, amazing things that he revealed. He had some pretty good stories. You know, he played a snake prank on Roddy Piper, and Rowdy actually got mad and pulled a gun on him because he was afraid of snakes. But he went over his top 20, you know, things that, you know, that Jake had issues with. But if you get a chance, I'd recommend anybody listening to that podcast. And
was Mike's interview one of them?
I probably don't even remember it. Oh, I couldn't even use it.
Well, I'll tell you my one interaction with wrestlers up until I started making this game. I got to say, 12 years old, and I went to the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And I don't know how my dad did it, but like he knew somebody who knew a referee that was working that night. So I got there, and we got to go back in the dressing room after the shows. So I got my picture taken with Blackjack Mulligan, if you remember him, you know, father of Barry Windham,
Yep.
Among a couple other people. But then I met George Animal Steel, who pulled my hair, and completely, you know, in character, was awesome. But then I walked by the Junkyard Dog talking to Nikolai Volkov, like they're the best friends in the world.
Oh, wow.
And they had just finished the main event. It was Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik against the Junkyard Dog and George the Animal Steel. And I'm like, why are they talking to each other? They shouldn't be talking to each other. They were just fighting in the ring. What's going on? And I was getting doubts, and I didn't really want to believe at the time. But I'm like, something ain't right. And then from that point on, I started watching wrestling a little bit closer, thinking, he just threw him into the ropes. Why didn't he just stop? Why? You know, it broke my suspension of disbelief. You know what I mean?
So
he's still one of my favorite wrestlers, and I know, well, he's passed. He was from Crawfordsville, Indiana, the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, when he came on the scene, man, even when he went to the WCW and he was just the Warrior for a little bit for his, you know, that guy was awesome, man.
Yeah.
And
great look.
Good stage presence.
Great stage. I heard some stories about him, though.
Right.
They hated people. Other wrestlers hated fighting him because he was so intense that he never like held
Oh
back.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, he had the warrior mojo going on. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I know what you're saying, Mike. Because at some point, we got ringside seats to, and those are the worst seats. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, you could get up and slap hands with wrestlers, but if you want to enjoy wrestling for what it is, ringside is the worst. Because
Right.
I remember Chris Benoit throwing Eddie.
Eddie Guerrero.
Thank you, Eddie Guerrero, into the turnbuckle right next to us, and he's kicking him, and it never hit him. And Guerrero he's doing the flop, but Benoit's boot never touches him. And I'm like,
Right.
That
is
Right.
belief suspension.
That's surprising from those two, though. I mean, I just don't. I've been watching a lot more wrestling now, and I like it, and I don't want them to remind me, though. I want like suspension of disbelief. It's like
Yes.
when you're watching a movie, I know the movie's not real, but they're drawing
Right.
me in. They're not telling me it's a movie during the movie.
Right.
And that's that one things I don't really care for in the last couple of years is the shows of the promotions who kind of tell you what's going on while it's going on.
Right.
Now, and they don't all do that. So there's some good ones out there still that aren't doing that. And because like when I'm there, I want to be entertained and I want to believe it's real.
Yeah.
I want to pretend I'm 10 again. And if they do it right, they do a good job of it.
Man, I tell you, I took my youngest two kids. Of course, they're older now. I've got 4 kids from the ages of 28 to 21. But when my youngest two were little, my boys, and I took my stepson to a wrestling match here in Indianapolis, and John Cena came on stage.
Yeah.
There were two women behind me, and they were like in their mid-50s, man. And they're pretty beefy women, but they got up, and they're shouting, and they're spitting and everything. Yeah, go, Johnny, and then behind me. When I turned around, I thought, what the hell? There's nothing more fun. And they've got great merchandise when you go to these wrestling matches, too. I mean, I spent a small fortune. I mean, but I mean, the kids loved it, man. They got all kinds of wrestling, stuff, and what a great time, man. I think I have more fun going to those than anything else,
Daredevil says, if you want to be super entertained, we got to be at his events.
All right.
Much for that.
So I just got to tell him he's got to come to MCW. So the other thing too is, and this is hard because you gotta remember these are like real people with that have to go out and do stuff. So you said Nikolai Volkov. Nikolai Volkov he lives here.
Not anymore.
Or lived here. My friend, the same one who I told about the Jake the Snake interview, he worked for Mars Supermarkets. And he said Nikolai Volkov would come in like once a week because that's where he shopped. And he would so it's like it's hard to it's sometimes hard because you have to remember these guys eat too, and then it's like it's yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's like now I've met now I know Tommy Dreamer. I don't know him super well, but I know him enough. I've met him several times now. I've traded texts with them. I know Stevie Richards pretty well now. Great, both of them great guys. Meanie's a great guy. Everybody I've dealt with in the game so far. Not that I probably know Meanie. I know Stevie and Meanie probably a little bit better than any of the other guys. But Tommy's been really cool. All of them really down to earth. I haven't really had any bad situations with the guys that we've signed.
That's what that was my experience with meeting Tommy Dreamer too at Too Many Games. It's like I was like, hey man, he was a real big fan. I've watched you since ECW, and he was
super approachable.
Super approachable. He talked to me for a minute. I have his his autograph up on the Retromania Wrestling poster there on the wall, and you just have to. It's like I said. Sometimes though, you just want to remember what it is. That's a game like this is going to remind me of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because my brother, 2 years younger than me, and of course we're about the same age as all you guys, and we grew up, playing these games, wrestling on NES and Super NES, and WWF, and all those great guys from the '80s, Hulk Hogan and them, and Junkyard Dog, and so I grew up in Corpus Christi. So in Corpus Christi, around that time, the legendary the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
And so we grew up. We loved the Von Erichs, and come to find out, later on, we were already older. My mom said, "Oh yeah, I used to work out at Gold's Gym there, and one of the Von Erichs, the one that was a Texas Tornado, I can't remember his name.
Terry.
Terry, yeah.
Or Carrie.
Carrie Von
Carrie,
Carrie
long
Von
hair.
Yeah.
Carrie Von Erich.
And he worked out there, and my mom knew him, and she used to work out with them, and she said he was the nicest guy. And I'm like, Mom, how come you didn't tell us this when we were kids?
Yeah.
You could have introduced us to, so, but it was so sad, because we always enjoyed those guys. I can't remember what, the local wrestling or they were on around that.
World Class.
World Class, okay. And it was sad to hear, one brother pass away and then another. It was like there was a curse going on with the Von Erichs, and I think Carrie passed away too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, but that's.
They have two. There are two of their kids, I think, are wrestling now for MLW.
Yeah, I think Mike told me last time when I brought this up. Yeah.
Well,
so,
and what's her? One of the daughters wrestled for Impact at one point.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which Lacey did.
I think she retired though.
Yeah, with all due respect to the family, she was the one who wasn't really a wrestler. I mean, she didn't train like they did. I mean, you could tell her skill set wasn't quite there with the rest of them. But yeah, I think a lot of that was, unfortunately, a lot of that I think had to do with her name than anything else. They were trying to, Impact was trying so hard to gain any traction that they could. They were bringing in every name they could possibly get, and guys that I loved. I mean, bringing in Hogan, and I'm one of the few people who really like Eric Bischoff, but they brought him in, and they had Flair, and they had Ric Flair. I'll tell you, he was still flopping and dropping on the ground and all that stuff, and. They had Jeff Jarrett. They had, as a guy you should go get. You should go get Jeff Jarrett. You should get Jeff, because I doubt he's doing anything right now.
Well, it's funny. The best we got a DM from somebody that said it was the longest DM I ever received, and all it said was, "Hey, looks good. Can you add?" And then it listed literally 100 names of wrestlers. And then at the end it said thanks.
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 Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure it's all the guys that that are licensed by Rage.
Yeah, I know. It's basically but it was from like guys from the 80s up till today. It was like a huge list. But it was funny.
I'm just waiting to play Coco Savage. That's what I want.
Matt Mania.
Yep. Those are the things that got my attention.
Yep.
And I'm really hoping that first off, I'm hoping you hit your July. Don't rush, but hurry up is what Jake said earlier. Or More Distracted said earlier. But I think this is again this game is a scratch an itch, and I mean I'm really number one. I'm excited for the game. Number two. I'm really glad we were able to get John to talk.
I appreciate you guys having me. It was fun.
This is a great show. Great show.
Despite having to look at cowboy country every.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I respect, and I have respect for the Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. Getting their first one.
Long enough. Yeah.
But
we have 4. So or no, more than that. 5. What are you guys up to? 5?
Yeah, it's 5.
5.
And it's been a while since we've been.
We got 2. We got 2. I mean, more than that if you count the Baltimore Colts, but I mean, we're getting there.
I tell you, still speaking of wrestlers, though, man, the one guy that really just bugged the heck out of me was that Ravishing Rick Rude, man. He came out there and his little dancing and everything.
All you sweat hogs, be quiet while I take my robe off.
Oh yeah, those were the days.
I will
Yeah.
never forget the night he was on Raw and Nitro. The same. Remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that? He said, "I bet
geez.
you're wondering how I could be in 2 shows at once." That was fantastic. He was. I mean, those are guys that I don't. You never remember them for their technique, but their persona.
Yeah.
Oh man, how they carried themselves. They each had their own little story, and man, it was just pure entertainment. I mean, just Roddy Piper, he was something else too.
Yeah,
Him and Ric Flair, all those guys. Coco Beware.
Coco Beware. But even some of the lesser guys, like one of my favorite. There were two of my favorite technical wrestlers that I really just you. One of them was kind of popular. One of them, you kind of knew their name, and one was Greg the Hammer Valentine. So Greg Valentine was I just loved watching him wrestle. I don't think he was ever champion. I think he might have been Intercontinental champion at one point.
Yeah, he was. He was Intercontinental.
But he was never. You never thought of him as a main event wrestler, like Paul Orndorff. Like, I love Paul Orndorff.
Right.
The other guy was Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko was probably one of the most technical wrestlers I've ever seen. That Texas Cloverleaf, man.
I laugh because one of the things I remember the most about Dean Malenko, they called him the man with 1,000 holds.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Jericho, early in his career, came out on TV and said, "I'm the man of 1,001 holds." he had one of those Santa lists, where it opens up and rolls all the way down.
Right.
And he started reading the moves off.
Oh,
and he started with arm drag, hip toss, atomic drop, reverse atomic drop. And, and it was like a long segment, and he just kept reading them. It was one of the funniest things I remember seeing at that time.
Jericho had mic skills. He was a good guy to have there. So but those are also guys. So when you're talking about your DLC, we just we'll consult with you.
All right, sounds
now,
good.
Mike,
Malenko would be because there was another guy and he hates modern wrestling because I've seen him complain about it all the time.
Jim
Lance
Cornette?
Storm. Well, Cornette, yeah. Lance Storm. Remember Lance Storm?
Oh yeah, ECW. He was in WCW too.
He was WCW. He was great. A lot of those cruiserweights, man. Those are guys that. That's what to me made WCW so special was the cruiserweight division. When you had these guys like Malenko and Guerrero and Mysterio and there was another guy who did the Shooting Star Press.
Billy Kidman.
Billy Kidman. There's a few guys, and you had Psychosis, and Raven was a cruiserweight at that point. Those are guys that made that's what made me enjoy wrestling so much. It's it was like watching light heavyweight boxing, or flyweight boxing. Those guys were not as strong. They weren't powering you down like a Tyson fight or a Holyfield fight. But man, they could dance around the ring. And the cruiserweights, those guys were just insanely good. I miss that. That would be something that I would buy a cruiserweight DLC from you. I mean, seriously.
No, absolutely.
And a lot of those guys, you don't have to get any of the former DX or NWO guys. You could go some of these lesser. I guess they were good. They were well known then, but lesser known now. Like if Billy Kidman ever came to the ring, no one would know who he is.
Right.
I know Disco Inferno has tried to come back and he's trying to be an Impact, but come on, nobody knows him as Glenn Gibraltar, because he can't use Disco Inferno, of course.
Right.
But,
right.
Brian Pillman. Just guys like that. I'd love to. That would be a DLC I would pay, and I'd pay as much as the original game for it. Just so you know.
All right.
So we're getting on 11:30. This is great. We have a 2-hour conversation about a wrestling game. I am happy with that. But if you want, anything else about the game that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that we know about coming up to what is hopefully going to be a July release?
Yeah, I would just say follow us at RetroManiaWrestling.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Retrosoft Studios. We're going to start producing, hopefully, some more YouTube content because we're starting to add the actual playable wrestlers to the game now. So you'll start seeing more of their moves and more videos like that, some more of our environments. And other than that, pre-orders are available now at a discount for Switch and for Steam on our website only. And we'll be on all the sites, like all the eShops, 30 days before launch for a pre-order as well.
Cool.
Well, I'll definitely be picking up, Michael. I did have one question, like with Retrosoft Studios. Do you have any other plans for any other type of games in the future? And do you have any shout outs to the people that worked on making this game possible? You know, like did the illustration, the artwork, the sound. I mean, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Too many names to list. But,
right.
You know, Charles is my lead programmer. I've been working with him the longest and just does a hell of a job. And it's funny, he didn't know wrestling until we started doing this.
Nice.
So there was a learning curve for him, like for me to explain, well, why would he go into, like the thing I said about earlier, why would he go into the ropes and just come back? Like, I had to explain to him what wrestling was, you know? So, you know, it's just like he never really watched it at all.
Right.
And so I had to explain stuff. Like, I just explained really the basics to him. Now, obviously, he's played fighting games, so even there's wrestling moves in fighting games like Street Fighter. So I just had to use other games as reference points for him. But another one who helps me a ton, his name's Wade. He's actually from Australia. I'm not sure which one of us knows more about WrestleFest, but he's played as much as I have. So he's ripped a lot of like sprites out of the old game that we can use as examples of how we want stuff done to translate to the programmers. But you know, Corey, Fran, Raphael's done a lot of the animations. I have such a great team. Everybody's real easy to work with. Bill out in California is my art director. He does a great job. Emily in Australia. Ito is in Spain. Miguel's in Spain. Who do I have? Wayu in Indonesia. Raphael's in South America. You know, Rhythm Bastard, he's a U.S. guy. I have some guys in Canada we work with. I know I'm missing people, but you know, we have a really good team of people. It's we work all remotely. I'm on Discord all the time with them, and just everybody's easily available. Sebastian Seabass, as he goes by, he's now in Maine. You know, so we have people from all over the U.S., you know, South America, Europe, Indonesia, Australia. We had somebody in New Zealand. So really all over the world.
Nice.
And we're all working together to make this thing happen.
Awesome.
And then you had a second part to that question.
I was just wondering, are there any other projects you're thinking about working on maybe in the future, or any other type of different game, or are you going to continue with this, or, you know?
Yeah. So I definitely want to do more. You know, this has been a great experience. You know, this is not my primary job. You know, I have another accounting and finance job that I do full time. I feel like I have two full-time jobs. But I'm not doing the real heavy lifting on the game. Like, it's my vision. I wrote the design document, but you know, all the other great people are doing really the heavy lifting and making kind of my dream come true on it. But I have ideas for a lot of other games. You know, I would love to do a beat 'em up, possibly.
Nice.
Maybe an old school RPG, although I feel like there's a lot of those out there right now. So I want to one of the things that drew me to doing a wrestling game, besides being a wrestling fan, was there aren't a lot of wrestling games out there.
Right.
You know, so that I thought was that was probably a good business move to do a wrestling game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think you can probably tell I'm really passionate about it, though, with I know my wrestling, I know my video game history, but, you know, probably, you know, look around. That's why I think maybe the Intellivision Amico might be a good system to look at doing something on, because it's different and new, and it's kind of different ways to maybe come up with something different that hasn't been done before. That's really appealing to me.
Well, Tommy would love that because he's always looking for different ways to use his controller because of the unique design of it.
Exactly.
Use it differently. So he would love something like that.
Yeah.
Or possibly even look into VR. Like I still think it's a little ways off, but my brother has the Vive, and I really enjoy that. So I think they have a little ways to go though from the hardware perspective. It's not quite there yet, but I'm big Ready Player One fan of the book. The movie was okay. Book was amazing, and I really love the possibilities that VR gives us.
Right.
So that's not necessarily a retro game, but maybe make a retro game in VR. Who knows?
Yes, call it like the old 4D sports games on the PC.
Right.
The old, 4D sports boxing. You do 4D sports wrestling.
Right.
So, I'm gonna leverage. See, Tommy loves us because we're all in television guys here too, and I'm an old in television guy myself. So we are like all in on the Amico, except for Chris, who hasn't gotten his yet. But
hey, my pre-order is coming up here soon.
That's right,
31st. I think March 31st.
For the VIP.
John
you guys are Founders Edition.
Yeah, I've got the Founders Edition.
Yes, sir.
I went with the wood grain. Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you get a chance on our channel, check out our interview. So we had 2 interviews.
No, I definitely am.
We also interviewed Mike Micah, who, I've known him for a good while, and he's doing Night Stalker, the Night Stalker remake. So catch him as well. But Tommy, I'm gonna leverage the fact that we follow each other, and I'm gonna try to slide. Let's try to slide, do a little name slide in here, because I could actually. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say, tell him to come check the show.
Yeah,
and I mean, the last show he made a comment too in the deal, so he seems to pay attention.
I don't think there's a wrestling game on that system right now.
I doubt it.
That I've seen.
Honestly, I think they're announcing 20 titles. Either they've announced them or they're in the process of announcing them now.
Wrestling's not one of them.
I would doubt it.
I could see, the upper part of the controller where your moveset could be. You use the disc for moving around, but you use the you've got moves kind of that flow up at the top. I could see this happening.
Yeah.
And especially when you mentioned 8 players, because
that's what he's all about. That's what really intrigued me about. I've been following it not super closely, but I saw an interview on Electric Playground. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a YouTube show, right? And I used to watch those two, and I forget the guy's name who does that. I want to say Chris something, but I might be wrong. But him and Tommy used to host, I guess it was called Electric Playground on G4. And I always watched that. I really liked those two guys doing it. And then Tommy was interviewed there, and then I saw him on the other YouTube channel. I'm going to check the interview you guys did out with him. But I like what he's saying, Mm-hmm. And I think, the Wii took off because it was different and had a different controller. And, I think maybe that there may be something to the Intellivision on that regards as well. Different input system and kind of shaking things up.
Yeah, bringing some of those old games but bringing a fresh look to them. Right. And then be able to introduce them to our family. Also, I liked how not just the controllers, but then if you have more than 4 people that want to play, you download the app and use your phone to play as a controller. Cool. So I thought that was neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely, me personally, I definitely look forward to this game. Because like I said, me and my brother, this goes back, and my nephew, he's about 9-10 years old. His son, they're both big wrestlers, more than me. I stopped really paying attention to wrestling after the 90s, after I graduated from high school. So, but this, I can see, let him know, let's pick this up and let's all play, and see if I can get my 6-year-old daughter to like this too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting this. It's too cool. The sprites, the wrestlers, the bodies. You got to get it.
Yes.
Because I know you're going on Xbox as well. Did they approach you at all about a possibility of going into Game Pass?
No, they did not. The thing is, we have to launch the same time as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't mention anything about a Game Pass. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's an advantage of doing that as a developer.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
well, it depends how much they pay you, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It depends on the game, I think, too. But I was just curious because I mean, I have Game Pass. It would be a great way to get a game like this into people's hands that might not otherwise get it.
Right. I hear you. Yeah, just spreading the word like that. I agree. It's a good theory in concept. It's a good concept, I guess.
It could be one of those things that there's so many months that it's already been out for sale,
right?
And then
it can go to Game Pass, which would make sense.
And then it gets back into people's minds, and more people try it. And
right,
and then it's in there for so long, and then people like it, they want to buy it. They get 20% off.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I think regardless on that. Yeah, regardless. I mean, even if it was going in there, I'm buying it. There's a level of support that I do want to give to you, Mike, and not just because you're here. I've been talking about this game for a year now, so
I definitely appreciate that.
He's not in the chat anymore, but Jeff Sincere, who you met at PAX, he can vouch for that. Him and I were instantly hooked on this game, and I was playing. He played a better build than me. I was just playing the alpha. So
right.
Yeah, so there are certain games that I have a true passion for, and one of the reasons that we talk so much about the Amico here on our show, where everybody else, I mean, yes, we talk about the Xbox and the PlayStation, all the new stuff, but we hit that every time we can because there are certain things that we believe in, and for me, this is a game that I truly believe in, and I want you to be successful with this, and so I'm day one on it myself.
No, I appreciate it. From your lips to God's ears.
So, hey, we Mid-Atlantic guys got to stick together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'm hoping too that pending they don't cancel too many games with all this coronavirus nonsense, that you guys will be there and we get a chance.
Yeah, we will. It's like 5 miles from my house.
Oh, is it? All right. Okay, so I know where you are then.
Yep.
So, because I know my son and I are going back.
Awesome.
Really quick funny story about him. When we went, he was 14. I took him into you go into the left and you got the old computer section.
Yep.
And he sat down and he's looking at these old computers and he saw the Oregon Trail running on the Mac there. And he started playing it and he died very quickly. So
dysentery?
Yes, of course. Okay. So I'm like, hey, Jacob, I want to go check out the vendors and stuff like that. And he's like, all right, Dad, you go ahead. I'm going to play this. And I kid you not, I came back 45 minutes later, he beat the game. He was just enamored by that. So I've got hope that stuff like this can generate interest with him as well. So
I think it will. I mean, if my kids are hopefully a good test audience, I've had them and their friends play it, and they all have a good time with it. So let's hope so.
There's like I said, but I think June. So you'll still be a month or two, a month possibly out of launch. So hopefully,
it should be a pretty close to finished build at that point.
Yeah, so we'll definitely come and see you. Most definitely.
Awesome.
So. And then, as we do with everyone else, I mean, every guest that we've had on here, you said you're rich in game history and stuff like that. You now have open invitation anytime you want to come on the show. I
appreciate it. That's awesome.
Say something's going on in the game industry that really tickles your fancy. You want to talk about it? Just hit one of us up. Mike, you got room for me on the show tonight? We'll bring you in and we can talk other things. You can give us an update on the game. But we could talk about anything else you want to talk about.
Sounds good, man. Thank you very much, Mike.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
thank you,
even though you're an Eagles fan, you're all right with me.
Wow.
I tell you what, man.
That's pretty high regard.
Yeah, I'm one of the nicest Cowboys fans. So
these NFC guys, man, they man. So, but And I want to thank he had to roll out, but I want to thank Dave Dahl. Seriously, he was very entertaining in the chat room.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's great.
if that's his wrestling persona, man, he's gonna have some success.
No, he's a good guy. Definitely a good guy. He supported us since day one.
Nah, he was here tonight. Bobby Gonzalez, who is apparently his manager. He's here. We want to thank him, and of course, all of our friends who stopped in tonight, and Jeff and Doomhammer was in, and a bunch of guys who are also interested in this game too. So it was really nice. J Street, he said he was day one. Sincere's day one. I mean, you've got people you at least have a core of people here who are buying this game. So
That's
you
awesome.
just sold us.
Right.
So,
Definitely.
but John and Chris, Peter missed a good show tonight. So did Frankie. So, but unfortunately, they had other things that they had to take care of tonight. So it's good to have a nice, intimate conversation with you, Mike.
All right, no, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Chris, John, any last words for our good people?
I just want to say thanks for everybody, our viewers that tune in, that have been faithful to us. We love your support. Michael, it's nice meeting you. I'm glad we got this interview because I learned a lot more about your studio. I'm excited about this game. And even though I liked all these modern consoles, I love the retro stuff. So this game's going to be right up my alley. It looks like loads of fun that you could play for hours. And this is going to bring back some memories. And I'm really excited to see what you add to the game as far as wrestlers. So it's just been an honor to meet you. And definitely, I'm definitely going to pick up this game. And I'd probably recommend this to anybody. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Myself, it's good to have you on, Mike, and talking about retro wrestling mania. I know Mike. He brought this up a long time ago about this, so he's the one who put this on our radar.
Yep.
So definitely looking forward to this. And it was a nice surprise to see that the story mode and how it has some branching.
Yep.
So that was nice to hear. I like that, and plus of course, get down to the wrestling, the nitty gritty of it. So. But before I go, I know I had mentioned in Twitter that I was going to bring up about Gamers of the Month, and I know NLG wasn't really much around during February. So my February NLG Gamer of the Month is J Street, and then for March it's Doomhammer, which is funny because they both happen to jump in the chat. So Doomhammer, I know he doesn't come all the time. It's like cool, he's here. So. Yeah, and he's a Redskin fan, so see, I don't know why I'm over here, spreading love to my Eastern rivals, but it's all good.
Keep it in the NFC East.
Yes, that's the best division, NFC, NFL.
So the only requirement you have to come back, Mike, is you've got to grow an epic beard.
Okay, we'll do.
Maybe get one of those paste-ons, just throw it on.
I had one back in October, actually, and I shaved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get us out of here. I thank you guys in the chat again, Mike. Once again, thank you for coming on, and you're welcome anytime you want. I still just have been so busy. I haven't finished our outro video, which is funny because we used to have one, and I'm just gonna cut the show and tell everyone good night. We'll see you guys next Thursday night for another Next Level Gaming show. And have a great weekend, everyone. And, play on, gamers.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.